Well, no, there's a range of
How many
intersex.
chromosomes did the deceased woman have?
Well, this is it, right? This is one of the tests. We do chromosomal tests,
Right.
and in some instances, the true sex of the person isn't determined until after death, because at birth they were assigned female because of the outward observation of genitalia, and in life they never bear children, and they never questioned why they never bear children. It wasn't a big deal.
So you're an advocate for having chromosomal tests at birth for every birth?
No. I'm an advocate for creating a medical, legal, and social environment in which people can make these determinations freely.
No, because that's not a determination. I don't determine
Well,
that
we could
I'm
make
a man.
we
I
could
am.
we could make that assignment.
That's
then.
not an assignment, that's an observation.
But for babies at birth, a lot of the biological factors and indicators do not present until puberty.
You know what does present? The chromosomes. You can just check the chromosomes of the baby.
Well, then let's do a chromosomal test. What I'm saying is
Right,
that
problem solved.
I'm not.
We don't need to involve
No,
the
but that's cool. What I'm
government.
saying is I'm not a scientist, and so I don't delve into the realm of how science does it. As an advocate, I just say create an environment in which people could do these things because these things exist.
Chromosomal
And-
test. There,
Right.
we've created the environment.
That's fine.
the environment.
Let's do chromosomal tests at birth, but let's make it free. Let's not make it that you have
you
to have
can't
the
make
money.
it free.
Yeah, man, you can't make it so if you could only do it if you have the money to do it, right? We gotta make it free and make the determination at
So
birth.
who pays for it if it's free?
The state pays for it because
So it's not free.
bec-
So we paying for it.
it's free to the mother at the time, but there's a cost attached to everything.
Right, so we're
the
paying
state
for it.
could pay for it.
Let's not work
part
around
of
that.
as a part of
The people pay for it. The state
as
never
a
pays
part
for
of
anything.
the right to health services and reproductive and sexual
You're
health
getting
as a
into
right.
another area again. We
These-
don't
all of
have
these-
any right to health services, Erin.
Yes, we do.
Erin, what is a right? A right is something you don't need anyone else
Yes,
for.
no,
Freedom of speech is a right. Freedom of self-expression is a
Listen,
right.
all of us,
Self-preservation is a
all
right.
of us have a
Health
right to
services
health
is
care.
not a right.
All of us have a yes. All
We
of us
have a
have a
right
right
to
to
be
health
healthy.
care. We have a right to be healthy, and we have a right to health care. Yeah, we do.
Erin, if I am a doctor, you have no right to my service. No right. You have no right to.
No, you not, and that doesn't mean that every doctor should know that they have to provide free health care. That's not what a right to health care means.
What does a right to
It
health
means
care
that
mean?
a state is obligated to use its resources to provide opportunities for people to monitor their health.
So in this scenario, the right you are referring to is a state assigned right.
No.
The state is giving this right.
No.
So where does this right come
the
from?
state isn't given the right. The right exists.
Where does it come
If
from?
you think you're going to govern me, if you think you're going to take my
Hold on, we
taxes,
can get to all of that. Where does this right come from? Because I don't think you and I see right as the same thing.
we have an inalienable right to a healthy life
Conferred upon us by whom?
by the universe. We are here, and this is a right that we have.
So just
Everybody have a
Generally speaking, everyone has this right to health care, not being healthy.
to both. That's a part of it. That's a part of it.
Okay. I have a right to keep
Health-
myself healthy.
Health care.
I don't have a right to make you keep
Hold
me
on.
healthy.
Health care could look different for different types of communities. For some communities, they never go to a doctor.
You're avoiding the issue.
They never go.
You're
I'm not
avoiding the
avoiding the issue. They never
Yes.
go to a state-run facility for healthcare.
We-
Some people go to the
anything
shaman.
we say we will
and
have
we
to
look,
come back to
and we look at-
who pays for it.
We all pay for it.
Then that's not a right. That's a privilege that I get by living
Listen,
in this country.
we-
That's not a right.
There are health services that you could get without money, right? We could look at our own indigenous practices in the Bahamas
Right.
and bush medicine.
But ain't no one
so
paying for that,
a
though.
right to somebody's paying.
Who paying for that?
All of these things get
If I
paid
go
for.
in the bush and pick some seed,
The person who owned the bush and paying the property taxes on it, paying for it.
this is an empty property next to me.
Somebody paying the property tax on it, and somebody
No.
should be paying the property tax
No,
on
because
it.
property taxes aren't paid unless it's over $250,000.
Somebody paying tax on that.
What tax? What are you talking about? What tax is being paid on a vacant lot?
Who keeps it clear?
You know, keep it clear. It's overgrown.
So the government is derelict in its duty.
If you want to put it like that, I don't see cleaning up someone's owned piece of property as the government's responsibility, but okay.
So if the property is owned by somebody, the person who paid for the property, essentially you stealing their Cersei, right?
Okay.
So it's their Cersei.
Okay.
So you thieving the Cersei.
But if it grow in my yard, I ain't thieving it.
So let's look at it this way, right? We got different types of cultures that approach healthcare differently. We live in a capitalist, imperialist culture that states that everything has to
Yay,
be.
capitalism.
I mean, some people love it, some people don't. I'm one of those people that don't.
Capitalism has raised more people out of poverty than any other system in humankind.
No, man.
Yes,
Let's
it has.
forget that conversation.
Yes, it has.
I'm not arguing.
Then let's not have
hold
it.
on. I'm not arguing with your position, the position you presented in the context you presented it in. What I am arguing with is that I'm saying that capitalism is a horrible, horrible, horrible thing. It's horrible, and everything that springs up from it is horrible.
What's a better system?
I don't know yet. I could acknowledge that.
Do you think that there currently exists a better system than capitalism?
Yeah, man, there currently exist better
what is it?
systems than capitalism, but
Name one.
capitalism won't allow them
Name
to
one
flourish.
better system.
I think communism is better than capitalism.
I knew it!
But communism.
Erin's a red.
No, I am red. I'm not a red. Communism has never been practiced.
Worked. That's the word you're looking for. Communism has never worked.
outside of the context
Of communism.
of capitalism.
And communism has killed
In
more
fact,
people than anything in history.
No, man. Christianity has killed more people than anything in
Stalin
history.
murdered 40 million of his own people.
Listen, Leopold II, Hitler, all of these by them claiming Christianity. Listen,
What's your point?
my point is that capitalism is a horrible, horrible thing.
And communism has killed more people
and
than
we
any
could-
other system in
we
the
could
world.
talk about
Ever.
We could talk about alternative systems, but we
but
also
we're talking
have
about
to.
gender issues now.
We also have to acknowledge that no alternate system has been allowed to
That's not
operate.
true. Socialism.
No, listen.
Communism.
Hold on, listen to what I'm saying.
Feudalism.
Two things. Let me make two separate
There's a
points here.
bunch of
Slavery.
slavery.
Let me make two separate points here. Slavery is capitalism.
Slavery isn't capitalism.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yes.
Capitalism requires two things to exist. Keep your stuff, keep your word. That's capitalism. The free exchange. Slavery has nothing to do with
Capitalism was
capitalism.
created on the backs of African slaves.
Everything was created on the backs of slavery. Slavery has existed in mankind's history since mankind had a history.
But the slavery that created capitalism is an entirely different practice.
My dear, capitalism
Entirely.
existed long before
didn't.
Transatlantic slavery.
It didn't.
So there were no independent shops anywhere in Europe, anywhere in the West before
No,
the transatlantic
everything is owned by
slave-
the king.
No.
But let me make these two separate points, right? First of all, no system has operated outside of the context of capitalism since capitalism was created.
Communism isn't capitalism. Communism has existed and operated outside of capitalism.
It has not.
And it failed.
It has not.
What do you mean it has not?
It has not.
Multiple nations.
Communism
Have
has
instituted
not.
communism.
In fact, communism is a construct of capitalism. It is created to oppose.
What?
Here's the second
That's
thing.
insane.
Here's,
Communism is an outgrowth of socialism. That's what communism is.
listen, all I'm saying to you is that every time somebody says there's nothing better than capitalism, all I'm going to say to you is capitalism has destroyed everything in its wake. Nothing.
Bullcrap.
I mean, we could.
We could.
You know.
We could go at this for a long time.
I'm just saying, but let's take it back to let's take it back to gender, right? And
Okay.
the point we left off at, which is this, is that referendums spring up from the people,
Or should.
right? They should. This referendum appears as if it was initiated by the government. However, what we're missing is that our successive governments, both PLP and FNM, have actually released a progressive agenda of legislation related to gender, right? So in 1991, they created the Sexual Offenses and Domestic Violence Act. In 2000, we had the Workplace Anti-Discrimination Act, which included the category of sex, categories that cannot be discriminated against.
Which I don't necessarily support, but I understand why it was implemented.
Then in 2007, we had the expansion of the Domestic Violence Act, where we expanded the categories of people who could apply, and we expanded the definition of violence to include not just physical violence, psychological violence, emotional violence, and financial violence, right? And then in 2000...
Which I also don't support, because how can you have financial, quote-unquote, violence?
Well,
the definitions don't mesh.
Here's an example. Grandmother lives inside a house with extended family. Grandmother receives a pension from the state, and she may receive a couple pensions from other initiatives, right? Mm-hmm. A member of the household will coerce and bully grandmother into giving up all of her paycheck. Like, you owe us this money because we taking care of you, right? And they take all of it. They leave her with nothing, not even enough to pay tithes on a Sunday.
That's theft.
They call it financial abuse.
Strong arm robbery. We have terms for these things.
We call it financial abuse, right?
We had terms for these things
I'm gonna address that in a second.
All you did was get the government to enact more laws.
Let me finish this thought. So, in 2010, we had a number of legislative changes that I think could be included in this agenda, which would be equalizing the penalty for same-sex intimacy in public for straight people and for gay people, right? So prior to that amendment, the penalty for straight people engaged in intimate sexual acts in public,
caught screwing in
a car,
okay,
was $2. I mean, 2 years.
You said it weird.
It's 2 years.
Very sedity.
But for same-sex intimacy, it was, I think, starting at 7 years and 14 years, and then up to life imprisonment.
So we, in effect, did the same thing the other countries did, by having a workaround.
We equalized it.
I mean, before.
Yeah.
Right.
And we made it both 2 years. Now, let me address that point, right? As an advocate, as a human rights advocate, right, I am actually tending to agree with your essential position.
Can I agree with you also on one point?
Sure.
I don't think there needs to be different laws for same-sex and...
Yeah, I think they should all be the same.
Right.
So, when South Africa created its new constitution, instead of having Chapter 3, like our constitution, they create, like our constitution is exclusive, right? The Chapter 3, the Bill of Rights. And it says, these are all the things we consider rights, and anything that's not on this list is out the window.
Like freedom of speech.
We don't consider those rights.
Like freedom of the press. Freedom of association. Yeah, we screwed up.
Yeah, I think we did a horrible job.
Yeah.
And on both fronts. We did a horrible job legislatively, but like socially and culturally, we did an even worse job because we convinced Bahamians, or we allowed Bahamians to sit in the belief that a constitution is made of stone and that it cannot be changed.
I agree.
Right? So we have some mistakes, and we could change them, but the populists themselves,
after their face,
apparently, or these old ideas have to die.
I
right?
went there first before you had a chance.
And the new ones have to come up. So what South Africa did was they created an inclusive document that said, hey, first of all, everybody have inherent dignity and divinity. And everybody have rights. Everybody have rights and all the rights.
They're not acting like it nowadays, just parenthetically. My God.
There's a lot of issues in South Africa, and the world should be paying attention to it.
They are this close to being a failed state.
Listen, I think that a number of countries, including the Bahamas, are failed states.
Oh, I agree. Well, I wouldn't, not yet. But I can do math, and when I see a $12 billion debt and it's never gone down, and I see what that's going to look like as it exponentially grows 10 years, 20 years into the future, I can see us being a failed state eventually.
Here's why I call us a failed state right now.
Already?
Let me tell you why right now, but it's very specific.
Okay.
When is the last time you heard a politician reference rising sea levels in any of their policy discussions? Even if they don't believe that the sea levels are going to rise to a catastrophic level, when is the last time you've seen or heard a politician reference
Rising
in
sea
their
levels.
rising sea levels.
Honestly, it was, I think, 2 terms ago. I have to edit this because I can't remember the name of the Minister of Environment at the time, but he was referring to the erosion of the beaches.
Right. So even if you
Yeah.
edit this out, right, if you don't edit it out, right, we can see countries disappearing. We know that citizens of particular states have been designated environmental refugees already.
Mauritius, I believe, is one
Right,
of those
and I think it's
countries.
that government is actively negotiating, if not citizenship, permanent residency for its citizens in other countries.
Right.
Scientists say that in 85 years, potentially the only inhabitable islands in the Bahamas are going to be
Cat Island.
and Mayaguana, Cat Island, part of North Andros.
They
Right?
gave us 85 years.
Roughly 85 years.
Well, let's hope that
So when you
best case scenario, their predictions are as unreliable as Basil Dean's. I'm sorry, that was a cheap shot. I'm sorry, Basil.
It was because Basil, it turns out it wasn't Basil's fault.
No, it's never his fault.
No.
It's always everyone else's
And that's
fault.
what the insurance agents say, blame it on God. Blame it on God, right? But so that's why I think it's a failed state, because nobody is even referencing it, whether they believe it or not. Nobody is referencing it in their policy discussions.
And while I can understand why that is, because they'll be long dead by the time it happens, I can't understand why they're not making it right for their children, because they got children. And they plan on having grandchildren. I mean, people are still going to be here after you're gone.
On the surface, it appears as if they're making it right. I mean, what I'm witnessing is people using national resources to prepare their children to be citizens of other countries. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people treat the government like a Ponzi scheme.
But they aren't doing it with that in mind, though. It's not a conscious that you're referring
well,
to.
I don't think
A
that it's
conscious type of
consciously linked to rising
Right.
sea levels. I think, and I can say this here, in the fatalistic tradition of these islands, right? In the same way that the Tainos and the Arawaks and the Lucayans were fatalistic people, I think that Bahamians sense something in the future, but they're not linking it to rising sea levels, right? They just see what they appear to be a runaway train, and they're trying to prepare the children to jump off.
What does that do for the rest of the country, though? Let's put it this way.
I tell
If
you-
it's the
hold on, I tell
smartest
you what it
or the
does.
most elite of our society that are doing that have the resources to do that, what happens when, let's say, the top intellectual class of your country jumps ship? Long before the waves hit us, that's going to
Well, I tell you,
ruin a country.
I tell you what happens. People keeping on. If they want to go, they go. People keeping on. And we're not going to refer to people like, well, the brightest are gone, so we just left here with the dummies.
Sure,
No.
we can, because that's what happened. We can watch that happen in plenty other countries.
Yeah,
It
but
happened
no,
in Puerto Rico.
but what I'm
It
saying
happened in
is-
Venezuela.
right, but
It
what I'm-
happened in Cuba. We know the smart people is get out first.
But what I'm saying is that people are resilient, right? And people, in the face of challenge, people improve themselves, enhance themselves. So like
Some people do,
right.
yes.
And because see, I'm
You're
inclined.
speaking
No,
too
no.
generally, because that don't cover the whole population.
I'm inclined to say, oh my God, the brightest minds are leaving us, and we're left with an uneducated majority, right? Like
I'm with you so far.
that's what I'm inclined to say, and I'm inclined to say that we leave ourselves at the risk of being governed and led by these students.
Or by the few elites that remain and decided I could just take advantage of y'all for as long as I possibly can.
Which is possibly worse than being led by good-intentioned these students, right? But see, I'm a intersectional human rights advocate, and I have to believe in the inherent goodness of all people. And I have
that's
to.
where you go wrong. People are not inherently good. People are inherently evil. We have to be taught to be good. Have you ever seen a 2-year-old? That is the most narcissistic, selfish, hateful little creature ever placed on God's green earth.
I disagree.
We have to teach humanity to be humane.
I
Every
disagree.
human has to be.
European-led.
I didn't even know where we stopped.
Wait, let me smoke a cigarette then.
Go ahead.
See, because when we get into the marital rate discussion,